देशवासियों को और स्पेसिफिकली सिविल सर्वेंट्स को नेशनल सिविल सर्विस डे की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। क्लास 10th में मैंने एक कहानी पढ़ी थी, आप में से काफ़ी लोगों ने पढ़ी होगी, नींव की ईंट। सिविल सर्वेंट्स हमारे देश की उस नींव की तरह हैं जिसके ऊपर ये सुंदर इमारत बन रही है। आमतौर पर हम केवल अचीवमेंट्स देखते हैं, क्या हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ ये देखते हैं, लेकिन पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन से लेकर, नीतियां बनाने से लेकर नीति इंप्लीमेंट करने तक सिविल सर्वेंट्स का एक अहम रोल होता है। कई बार ये रोल रिकॉग्नाइज भी नहीं होता, जैसे इसी कहानी में मूक बलिदान की महत्ता बताई गई है। यानी कि समाज तभी बढ़ेगा जब हम सब लोग बिना किसी फायदे के इस समाज के उत्थान के लिए काम करेंगे, और ऐसा काम कितने सारे सिविल सर्वेंट्स लगातार करते रहते हैं। उनके इसी कार्य को रिकॉग्नाइज करने के लिए नेशनल सिविल सर्विस डे हर साल 21 अप्रैल को बनाया जाता है। 2006 से शुरुआत हुई थी, लेकिन यही तारीख क्यों ली? 1947 में भारत के पहले गृह मंत्री सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल, उस समय के 1947 की बात कर रहा हूँ, उस समय के IAS प्रोबेशनर्स से मिले थे मेटकाफ हाउस दिल्ली में, और यहीं पर उन्होंने वो बात कही थी कि IAS ऑफिसर्स या सिविल सर्वेंट्स स्टील फ्रेम हैं इस भारत का। आज इस वीडियो में हम मिल रहे हैं एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण शख्सियत से, जो भारत के वित्त सचिव रह चुके हैं, फाइनेंस सेक्रेटरी रह चुके हैं, वर्ल्ड बैंक में एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर रह चुके हैं, मिस्टर SC गर्ग।
So far, no. But to answer your question, the crypto for any country's currency is to get internationalized, internationally expected.
So don't you think our education system needs to evolve, too, since you were heading the budget making, process when you were Secretary Department of Economic Affairs. So you use this term performance budgeting, KPIs. So do you think that we should be working, more on nuances side when it comes to designing our schemes, monitoring on the ground? Because several reports have, put this stark, reality, what is happening in our remote areas. Means although these are not remote in terms of reaching out, but quality of education which are being provided through our government networks, as well as the penetration of social welfare schemes. So there's need of some overhauling, means incentivization of public policy.
So what you have raised are two very, very important issues. One is the quality of the education system, and the other one is the quality of government budgeting and expenditure, right? So that what you captured in the expression, the performance budgeting. I have views about the education system that may not be very widely shared. I think our education system is broke.
Our education system is
it prepares the students today only for some skills, but no great abilities, right? And it's still at the school level. Instead of teaching, instead of making the students familiar about themselves, their bodies, what they are, their society in which they live, the nation, the geography, the sociology, etc., biology, the world, that is what should be the schooling. So if at the end of the school we are able to know ourselves, know our society, know our world better, then we are actually ready for, and then we should be able to make a very good choice about what I'm best for.
Yes.
And then get into the different kind of professions and educational streams for being able to develop that skills and the knowledge and the abilities to earn living for yourself and your family and the household. So our education system is not really designed. It's designed to produce clerks and that kind of. It's continuing. It was meant for industrial society to produce basically the clerical staff, government, the private. It's not still. And today's digital economy in that world requires a very different kind of system. So today is not the occasion to talk about the education systems and the way we are organized. The private sector is not allowed, charitable institutions, that is a lot of issues connected with capitation fees and other kind of things. So I think we leave it to for some other days, but I agree with you that the education system needs a lot of overhaul. Coming to the performance budgeting, that again, we are living through the same kind of budgeting system for last 70-75 years. What we call line kind of budgeting. For this, we will spend this. But what is this expenditure going to achieve? Yes. What is the output and the outcome? That is not. We produce some vague reports about outcomes, which is not the sensible. No one holds the government responsible or accountable for achieving those outcomes which are expected out of that expenditure. So there's a lot of work internationally which has happened now on performance budgeting, outcome budgeting, etc. But it need to be so our systems need to effectively move towards that. That process is to be sort of expedited.
So, but we do use these terms, means yes. In India, means outcome budgeting, performance budgeting, KPIs, but you're saying that they're used, but not effectively, on ground.
Sometimes we just use expressions to sound that we are conscious about that. But though the meat of that, the reality of that doesn't. We use all the expressions, the gender budgeting, performance budgeting, outcome budgeting and all kind of thing. Or for SC plan, ST plan, this, that, all of that. Right, so all of those are there, but these are mostly optics. These are not really difference making.
So this is phenomenal. Especially because you were saying that you were heading the team. So thank you, sir, for sharing this insight. Coming to the next question. So one basic doubt students have is this: if past academic record matters, means there are students who have not done well in their schooling, graduation, and there are students from IITs, IIMs. So is there a gap?
I'll answer your question in two ways. Okay. Post selection, okay. It does not just matter. And in fact, if you were to statistically analyze it, those students who were very bright academically or who had tons of degrees and accolades for them, they might turn out to be poor administrators. Mm-hmm. And those who are really people type, making and doing things, may not be academically very bright, might actually turn out to be excellent civil servants. Yes. So post, it does not matter, and it also doesn't matter for another reason, that when you enter into the service, it's like you are entering into a new job in a new world, and that new world has to be learned and understood. So if you don't close your mind about learning and learning while doing, you would do well, and in this the past doesn't sort of come in the way. But if you are even very good, but if you stop learning, you think that you have arrived and nothing more thereafter, I have done whatever I needed to be done, then your downfall starts. But pre-service, maybe in the context of interview or something, I think it makes the first right impression. If you have good academic record, you have been a gold medalist, or you scored very well, because that communicates the first impression that there is a person who has worked to achieve something substantial. But if it is not backed by, because many times you can score good marks and achieve degree without actually deserving that, right? And if you can't follow through in your interview or otherwise to substantiate what your academic records suggest, then it might disappear or vaporize very soon.
Exactly. But if someone is not having that good academic record, but if that person is reaching at interview stage, it itself shows that person has cleared prelims and mains. Yeah.
I think it's quite clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there's a conception among students that just before this interview stage, some are saying that they should actually seclude themselves from the environment around.
It's exactly opposite of what you should do. you would be doing service to people. You are not required to be a monk. You don't have to go to Himalayas to prepare. You have to prepare right in the midst.
Yes. So be at ease, Yeah. So now, sir, some questions from your personal experience. So can you share some highlights from your life before IAS? Means factors which have molded you to become one.
See, it's not a great thing to talk about person, but let me. I had relatively a little bit of a difficult economic environment in my family. I had to struggle quite a lot to even complete my studies and things like that. And therefore, but I was clear in my mind that I want to go in for the IAS. And I was also clear in my mind that it may click, it may not click. And therefore, I opted for cost accounting as an alternate career. Fortunately, I could top in the country there, and I got an employment as well from many based on the rank, All India ranking, etc. And when I appeared for the IAS interview, I was actually employed with Oil India at that time. So I thought I would use my time after writing the examination and before joining. I was reasonably confident, by the way, of getting through. So based on my performance, etc. So that is how it worked, but it doesn't really affect your chances. So I was able to come through in the first attempt, secure fourth rank or something. So that despite these little bit of constraints, I think that the talent is unstoppable. You can achieve what you want if you're focused. I honestly I thought I wouldn't. Many of my friends used to prepare for MBAs, for this and that. I said, no, I'm not interested in that. Let me focus on this. And as an alternative, I've chosen to do the cost accounting. So that's where the energy should be directed. Time should be focused, rather than wasting in multiple things. That let me put this also, let me put this, and then somewhere I'll. If you try to go somewhere out of many, then you may perhaps land nowhere.
Okay. So you were clear.
Yes.
Okay. So what factors means if there are some inspiration, someone said this to you that you should be IAS, and there were some moments means.
We used to live in Ajmer in a colony where at the entrance the collector's residence was there, right? So our colony, the PNT colony, the gate was next gate to the collector's residence, right? So I used to find that quite one that yes, there is, and the collector does a kind of job which is phenomenal and things like that. So if I would say inspiration, I don't think I was inspired by anyone, but of course, I had a sense that this service offers you opportunity to do something very substantial and the public space in the service. So that's the closest I can say. Otherwise, not really.
Thanks for sharing. So, next question is, do you have some people, name in mind, their ideas, which which inspired you, during your career as well? You had a remarkable career. You still are.
I was always very keen to study the masters.
Okay.
Even when I was student, I was doing my undergrads and things like that. So I was quite interested in law. So I would study Palkhiwala and Sirvai and others, which students at that age would generally not do. Well, what enchanted me most was to go into the basics of. So I used to read a lot about Keshwanand Bharti and the basic structure. Because my sort of inquisitiveness, I think that's what most important. That unless you have the inquisitiveness to reach to the fundamentals, you will perhaps not. And fundamentals you can learn only from masters. So rather than preparing only for examination, which I would generally not do, I would seek knowledge. So, but in particular, anybody inspiring, I won't be able to cite.
Okay, thank you, sir. So everyone has a dream while growing up. So as you said, you chose, civil services. So you had other dreams as well, because some people, change their goalpost.
Happens. I think it's a real life situation. I was always a good student. I wanted to study mathematics. I'd never scored less than 100% marks in mathematics or arithmetic. But my father thought that I should do commerce.
Okay.
So at that stage, you may not you may not be in a position to make all decisions for yourself.
Yes, yes.
So I went, but I started liking that subject also, and so commerce, economics became. So the when you have the sort of when you run up to and when you sort of graduating from school to higher levels, there may be many situations where you may not be able to make decisions, but if you can make decision which suits your inclination, your persona, your interest, I think that would be very good. So aligning your abilities, interest, and your education gives you the best results.
Okay.
But if there is a misalignment, your interest is somewhere else, your abilities are somewhere else, and you are forced to do something else, then even the best might turn out to be less than best.
This misalignment actually happens with a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. So can you share your preparation strategy? What you do, what you did, how you prepared?
I was very studies. So any examination I set, I would be either topper or something. So I don't know that was that ability. But the other thing which I think is very important is it's not only rote learning or trying to remember what you study, but try to imbibe, try to understand, and that's what I used to do. So if I can understand that subject, and I think if you if you learn based on understanding, this lasts. What you try to do remembering, yes, then doesn't last. Yes, and therefore it's more important to do learning by understanding.
But sir, there's other dimension too as well. Means some people actually, they enter into UPSC preparation and they read a lot, but when it comes to strategy, means they fall in love with knowledge, बट वो स्ट्रेटेजी कहीं मिस हो जाती है कि जैसे प्रीलिम्स है तो उसकी अप्रोच है, मेंस है तो उसके लिए यू नीड दिस स्किल सेट ऑफ आंसर राइटिंग, इंटरव्यू इसके बाद होगा, तो ऐसे में एक स्ट्रेटेजी तो चाहिए, राइट? तो ऐसे में आपके टाइम पर मींस one of the retired IAS officer, Mr. Bachhatar Singh, so he said, in our time there was scanty of material and right now there's plenty of material and both conditions are ours, क्योंकि अब इतना है कि हम पढ़ें क्या, कैसे पढ़ें, कितना पढ़ें, तो ऐसे में आपने कैसे मतलब उस टाइम पर?
Bachhatar Singh incidentally is my batchmate. Oh. So we joined the service together, right? But let me tell you, a major portion of the UPSC examination is the general studies, right? That has a lot of marks, right? And general studies are, you can study also, but as you live, you actually learn a lot about general studies. And I had tremendous interest in general studies. Okay. I remember when I was even in class 5th or or 6th, I had won the general studies for the entire school. So from 6th to 11th, those times the classes used to be up to higher secondary. So sitting in 6th, I won the general knowledge competition. This was because you were always keen to know newspapers reading, following up what is happening. So I would agree that the material might be less, but even those times there were information centers, there were libraries, there were newspapers, there were magazines which would provide you a lot of information about. At that time, this India used to be published, which was a repository of a lot of information. So in different times, different kind of set of information is available. Today, Google provides you virtually anything, whatever you want to seek. So that is not, to my mind, a constraint to acquire. On the subject side, I think it's between you and yourself, yes, that how much masterly sort of grip you have on your subject.
Yes, sir. But as students are going to be civil servants, so they have to think it like a project also कि project को complete करना है. It should be actually broken into pieces and then you have to go step by step.
So that's very true. So there is a syllabus, which is based on which the questions would be framed in the. If you are preparing for the examination and you are not covering that, you might cover something more. But if you don't cover that subject, or you have lack of confidence that in your own subject you don't take that and you try to do something else and you're not able to cover, so as a strategy perhaps that may not really work. So the strategy about preparation, I think, is to cover the entire syllabus very well. If you're weak somewhere, you must seek external help to make sure that you are fully prepared for that. And mind you, again, you have to write in the examination something better and more than what somebody else will do. Right? It's a competition, and that is where the difference. And again, there would be an examiner who also might be at different levels. So sometimes best of the guys get to check your copies and get you the right kind of marks, but somebody else who is not so thorough might give you more marks or less marks than what it is. So I think strategy is very important, but I would again repeat that when you strategize and prepare yourself for that, don't be over worried, or prepare for something which is not relevant and exclude something which is very relevant.
Exactly. So some questions are like post-retirement life of sir, means from heading finance ministry and as finance secretary. So after that also you're engaged into various policy work.
I decided to leave. By the way, I took the voluntary retirement 1 year before because I thought I would be better off doing service as a part of the society.
And you served there for 7 years in finance ministry.
See, the earlier, so I was a director in economic affairs and joint secretary in the expenditure department, then again 2 years as secretary economic affairs, so 7 years in the finance ministry here.
In between you went to World Bank?
In between I went back to Rajasthan, there also I was finance secretary, and went to World Bank where I was the executive director. So I had excellent career, despite there have been tough moments also, which I'll recount in the next book, hopefully. But then at one stage I thought it might be better for me to actually expand my horizons, work beyond government. Government is very large, but at the same time government is not larger than the society. Society is a larger thing. So I'm very happy. So you're aware, so I did a book recently, this $10 trillion dream, which is in a way also the politicians and the government's policies objective, that how the economy should grow. So I now feel increasingly that this society, which consists of, let us say, businesses, civil society, people, thinkers, others, should also contribute. Let's not leave this task only to the government. Let the society also participate in this big dream and try to realize. So I'm very happy, engaged fully with my...
Thanks for your comment, sir. So it was wonderful having you in this show. Thanks for contributing. It is going to provide immense value to the aspirants who are preparing or who are going to prepare. Thank you, sir, once again.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank
I
you,
hope
sir.
this turns out to be something useful for people.
Definitely, sir. Thank you.